This trip down memory lane is tainted with pain for Leanne Castley, but perhaps even more so for her mum, Lorraine.
It's awful to watch someone you love go through pain like that, and then it has an impact on your confidence and the ability to love anyone again. She's never been in a long-term relationship with anyone since then. She still lives on her own, and that's lonely.
Lorraine endured years of abuse at the hands of her second husband. Leanne was barely a teenager.
He drank a lot and was violent. It was awful.
Still, Lorraine stuck it out, the stigma of another failed marriage weighing heavily, until
one night he came home and it was just on for young and old, and he threatened my brother for the first time, and that's when Mum said, that's it, we've got to go.
Leanne's auntie Lou is also a survivor of unimaginable trauma.
If this was Auntie Lou's husband, he was the bad fella.
Her third husband controlled her every move, isolating her from family and friends.
And then it got to the point where there was no way we could sort of get her alone, and she was just stuck in this relationship. And I didn't know until years later that he would put sleeping tablets in her coffee at night time and rape her at night.
She eventually left the relationship but found it hard to escape him.
He would still follow her to work, or he'd park on a road, and so as she drove past she'd see his car, and so she'd change her route, and within 3 days he'd realise she'd changed.
It was with her mum and auntie in mind that Leanne offered the Assembly a raw and rare insight into her childhood.
That taught me pretty quickly that you shush, you behave, and you do not make waves, or your mum might cop another belting. This is no way for families to exist.
Those experiences explain why Leanne is now such a fierce advocate for victims of family violence and the need to criminalise coercive control.
We've got to take action sooner rather than later. How many more people need to die or end up belted, bashed, trapped in their home?
Coercive control is a pattern of behaviour used to entrap someone in a relationship. It can include manipulation, isolation, monitoring and financial control, as well as intimidation and constant criticism. It's harmful on its own, but is also a factor in almost all intimate partner homicides.
Our frontline officers are responding to 11 family violence incidents every day.
The current legal framework means police only have the power to arrest and charge a perpetrator if there's evidence of physical violence. Criminalising coercive control would change that.
If the person was able to articulate those experiences, those coercive control behaviours, to the point where they met the legislation under this new proposal, then we would be able to actually arrest and prosecute that person with the coercive control itself, as opposed to the violence that might arise from it.
It's a move the force is backing, even though it's likely to increase their workload.
Absolutely, because family violence and domestic violence thrives in silence, as they say, and the most powerful thing we can do as a community is to speak up, and we want people to speak up and shine that light really brightly on the issue.
The ACT government had been resistant to the question of criminalisation, but in March indicated a newfound openness to the prospect. The Legislative Assembly passed a motion making a commitment to legislate on coercive control, but not going so far as to say it will become a standalone offence. A key consideration will be the effectiveness of coercive control laws in other jurisdictions, including New South Wales and Queensland.
How would you describe the ACT government's progress on this topic?
I would call it a little bit frustratingly slow.
Frances Crimmins heads up YWCA Canberra, a support organisation for women and girls. Its specialist domestic violence team works directly with victims. In 90% of cases, coercive control is a factor.
One woman has recently described to her case manager that she is controlled in all aspects of her life. When she can use the telephone, when she can leave the house, how long she can shower, her sleep is monitored. When she does go out, she's given time limits when she can be back. She's told how much she can spend on groceries, what she can wear in public, and if she doesn't meet any of these targets set for her, she's punished.
Frances says the current laws are failing victims.
Women are being murdered. Coercive control is present in 95% of those cases. This is why we need to start taking action now.
There is some work underway.
Intimidation, monitoring, financial control.
A coercive control education campaign started last month, and a progress report on plans for legislative change is due by September. Another critical piece of the puzzle will be police training.
Given the complexity of the crime type and the type of investigation that would be required and the nuance of that crime type, it's going to be really important that police are appropriately trained in it as well.
Family violence expert Hayley Boxall cautiously supports criminalisation, but warns against seeing it as the entire solution.
It's a very symbolic gesture, I think, to kind of go, no, coercive control is as detrimental as other forms of domestic and family violence that we have criminalised previously. And so I think it is very much about trying to keep the legislation up to date.
Even if it doesn't end up with an immediate prosecution, it's given a woman confidence to come forward.
And police the power to act. Rosie King, ABC News, Canberra.